All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate all of you who were able to join us. And joining us today is also Jennifer Manise from the Longview Foundation. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, everyone.
So moving on to our next slide, we'll go ahead and start with introductions. My name is Caitlin Haugen, and I am the Executive Director of Global Teacher Education, or GTE. For those of you who are not familiar with GTE, we are an independent nonprofit. The purpose of our organization is to support internationalization of teacher preparation in the United States. And we do that through a website and facilitating an online community. All of our resources are free. We only ask that people register. So if you have not already done so, please do. Establishing this tag is directly aligned with GTE's mission and goals, so it makes sense for us to support this tag. I'm now going to turn it over to Jennifer Manise, the Executive Director of the Longview Foundation, to introduce herself, and to Donna Wiseman, the Dean of the College of Education at the University of Maryland in College Park, who has agreed to chair this tag, which is something that we will talk about a little bit later. Jennifer?
Thanks, everybody. It's great to be a part of this group, and thanks for rearranging your schedules to participate in this meeting on a Friday morning that in practically August. I'm amazed and pleased at how many of you who were able to join us.
Yes.
The Longview Foundation is a small nonprofit that's DC-based and focuses on building global understanding in the K-12 population, and one of our areas of funding is teacher preparation. Many of you are long-term friends and partners, and I just want to say thank you for your continued work and for agreeing to participate in this meeting. So without further ado, I'll turn over to Donna.
I believe, Jennifer, that Donna was having some difficulty connecting to GoToMeeting. Donna, are you with us? She may not be connected yet, so we'll have to go ahead probably and have her maybe, she'll be chatting a little bit later, so we'll have to give her that opportunity to talk a little bit later because she was having some problems with the software. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on and maybe have Donna share a word a little bit later. So moving on to the next, first, actually, before we move on, let me just give a little word about our meeting. I'd like to thank the Asia Society for providing us with access to their GoToMeeting account to facilitate this meeting. And just as a plug, GTE and Longview are partnering with Asia Society to host several webinars in the upcoming year, so please join us for those. And as the participants, we've muted most everybody just because of the tremendous amount of background noise that it creates when we unmute everyone. So we'll go ahead and just use the chat function to communicate with each other. And as you see in the to box, you can specify if you want to send a message just to one person, to Jennifer and I as the organizers, or if you'd like to send it to the whole group. So you can go ahead and experiment with that chat function as we're moving along. If you're joining us by phone, you can follow along with the slides, and unfortunately, you won't be able to use the chat function. And I'll be acting as the facilitator, and Jennifer is going to be providing the technical background support. So we'll go ahead and move on to the agenda. First, we're going to talk about what is a Topical Action Group, or TAG, a justification for establishing this internationalization tag with AACTE, the benefits and requirements of tags, and the next steps. So moving on to the next slide, talking about what is a topical action group. I've provided here a definition from AACTE's website, and tags are a completely new endeavor. They've grown out of AACTE's special study groups, and they act essentially as special interest groups. Some of the key points to bring out of this definition are that they are peer-generated groups, and that they provide a structured forum around themes that are congruent with AACTE's golden missions. So, and I've also provided a link to their website. I'd just like to take a moment to just ask all of you to use the chat function and let us know if you've ever participated in a tag or similar type of group in the past, and what was your experience. So go ahead and use the chat function and just let us know if you've ever participated in a tag, either with AACTE or with a different organization. We'll give everyone just a moment to go ahead and share their experience. Oh, no one's willing to share. So Joanne was saying that she has joined a SIG from AERA. Thank you for that. So a lot of other folks have saying that they have joined the SIG with AERA. Also, some folks have mentioned ATE, and I do know that they do some work with international education. So based on, and there's also someone who had mentioned an Actville SIG. So many of you have been involved with SIG. So share some of your experiences in working with those, maybe some of the benefits, some of the things that you enjoyed about being involved with those SIGs. So some folks are saying that it's nice collaboration across universities, even different countries, opportunities to network, that people can find folks with shared interests, shared networking, joint projects and research, determining common interests, collaborating on research, finding like-minded researchers, networking, expanding world understanding. Excellent feedback. Thank you so much. So we all can see that there are many different benefits from being involved in different organizations or different groups such as the Topical Action Group. So hopefully this group will also be able to function similarly. Also, Becky has mentioned developing cross-country working groups and also expanding world understanding. Excellent. Thank you so much for your feedback on that. So just as a bit of background, Jennifer and I recently met with Alicia Ardelia Ray at AACTE. She's the Director of Research and Dissemination, and she serves as the liaison to the Global Diversity Committee. She's very supportive of internationalization of teacher preparation. Since then, I've had several conversations with her and with the TAG contact person, Kim Murray at AACTE, which is helping to inform this conversation. So moving on to the next slide, I'm going to talk next about the differences between tags and committees. In recent conversations, many of you have asked me about the difference between tags and committees. So I'm going to talk about that and specifically about the Global Diversity Committee that has some activities that may overlap with an internationalization tag such as this. So specifically, committees within AACTE, they are comprised of appointed members. Jane has told me that it's that my audio is not coming through very clearly. Sorry about that. Let me try getting a little bit closer, and maybe if I talk a little bit slower, let me know if you continue to have problems hearing the audio. Sorry about that. So committees are made up of, with AACTE, are made up of appointed members, and they have a 3-year time limit. Also, committees are guided by AACTE, and they are provided with agenda items from the staff and leadership. Now, since tags are a new endeavor, AACTE does see that, that committees may support any relevant tags that might come up. Currently, the Global Diversity Committee, according to Alicia, who again is their liaison, has been focusing on 2 different strands. First is diversity and multicultural education, and the second is globally minded teachers. When I asked Alicia about their current activities, she said that they have appointed new leadership very recently, and that they really are just in the process of forming a new agenda, and that currently their activities have been focusing primarily on reviewing the award applications for the Global Diversity Award. Conversely, tags are completely member initiated. Any individual can join, and there's no term limits. Individuals can join both tags and committees, and that their purpose is to function as completely autonomous entities within AACTE, however, doing that with member interest in mind. They can drive their own agenda completely, and they're not obligated to collaborate with committees, but they can. Also, a new development is that tags do receive a budget of $2,000. And from what I understand from the folks at AACTE, as long as the proposed activities are in line with the tag statement of purpose and their outline activities, there's a lot of freedom in how that budget is used. So moving on to our next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about a justification for an internationalization tag such as this. I believe that there is a strong justification for a tag. In a recent blog, AACTE's president, Sharon Robinson, had called for more programs to incorporate global competency in their curricula, and I've pulled a quote from that blog to share with you on this slide. They really do want to see more. Also, they are working currently on forming an agenda for internationalization. However, as many of you No, they have many, many, many different competing agenda and different competing priorities, especially within this funding and policy climate. However, Alicia has been asked to form an agenda for internationalization. Moving to the next slide, further justification for this tag. AACTE argues that the purpose of this tag is to support their mission, and I've provided the mission here on this slide, and I imagine that most of us on this call believe that internationalization does support their mission. And with this group, I don't think I need to spend time justifying why this is important and relevant. Also, tags have existed in various forms and under different names and under different organizational structures in many different forms since 1988 with AACTE. However, under their current structure, they only have one recognized tag, and that is on sustainability. And they are actively working to find new groups who are interested in forming tags. They would like to see more tags with AACTE. Also, just in conversations with many of you here and with others, I think we would like to see internationalization higher on their agenda. In the past, there have been international and multicultural education focus groups and special study groups and their equivalent of special interest groups. However, there aren't any at present. The only present activities are with the Global Diversity Committee and their Global Diversity Award and a small handful of conference sessions. But I do think that we all would like to see more. Alicia, who again is the liaison to the Global Diversity Committee, was very enthusiastic and supportive of the idea of this tag. Also, Kim was surprised to see that we were able to garner so much support in such a short period of time. So that's just a little bit on why I think that we have a strong justification for forming this tag. Next, I'll move on to the benefits and requirements on the next slide. So there are a lot of benefits to joining a tag. One is that the tag does get time and space for a business meeting at the annual conference. Also, AACTE will provide the tag with space on their online social networking site, which will include things like chat rooms, document upload, things like that. They do get support from AACTE, and that support, from what I understand, can take several different forms. For example, if the tag wants to meet at AACTE headquarters, they'll give the tag space in a conference room and also clear time with the staff for them to meet with the tag. Also, if they would like the committee support, they're welcome to do that. There is the fund of $2,000. And from my perspective, one of the main benefits is that it is going to get internationalization higher on the agenda with AACTE. So there are different application requirements. One of the first requirements is that the tag identify officers. And we are very fortunate that we have had 3 folks who have agreed to serve in that function. Donna Wiseman, who is the Dean of the College of Education at the University of Maryland, has agreed to act as the chair. Jane Fleener, who has joined us today, who is the Dean of the College of Education at North Carolina State University, has agreed to act as treasurer. And Joanne Arhar, who is the Associate Dean and Director of Teacher Education at Kent State, who's also here, has agreed to be the secretary. So what I'm going to do now, before I move on, is that I'm going to hopefully turn it over to Donna just to speak a little bit about her experience with AACTE, her work in the past, the importance of this work, and sort of her vision as the chair. But we are having a few technical difficulties, so let me see if I can unmute Donna. Let me move on just a little bit as Donna is working through getting herself unmuted. Sorry about that, Donna. And I'm so happy to see we really have a great group of folks today. I really appreciate you all taking this. I've seen so many names on the list that it's so nice to see all of you and to have you joining us today. So Donna has not been able to unmute herself. So why don't I give her just a few minutes to work on that, and I'll go through the rest of the requirements, and maybe we'll give Donna just a few minutes. She's still having a few problems, as you can all see. Not to worry, Donna. We'll get, as you work through that, I'll move on and we can have you maybe speak in, as soon as you can get that worked out. And again, try entering, as Jennifer said, 44 to unmute. Sorry about the technical difficulties. So again, thank you to the three folks who again have joined us today, who have agreed to serve as officers. We really appreciate their work in internationalizing teacher preparation and their enthusiasm and for doing that. So the next requirement is that that we identify 10 committed individuals, and those 10 individuals, of course, have to be from AACTE member institutions. And in identifying those folks, that requires putting their names and email addresses on the application. And AACTE is very specific that it has to be your institutional email address, so that I imagine so they can check to see if you are from a member institution. Finally, the application. Oh, excellent. Donna is unmuted. Let me go ahead and have her join us. Donna, are you able to join us?
I think so. Am I there?
Wonderful. Yes, we are. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, Donna, and turn it over to you if you want to spend just a few minutes sharing your experience with AACTE, sort of your vision, and also just about the importance of this work.
Sure. Well, I think I'm really talking to the choir here, as we've said before, but I want you all to know that I've had the pleasure of working with Jennifer and Caitlin here for the past year, and really the real honor of working with getting the Global Teacher Ed website up and going, and it's been part of my really commitment to internationalizing teacher education. I think AACTE has long recognized the importance of internationalizing teacher education, and a lot of us just think, you know, the international committee is going to fill that role of really bringing us together. But I think that the international committee, as it's set up now, really focuses a lot on the awards. That's part of their task as a committee. So I do see this tag as a real opportunity to provide us the space where we can do several things that all of us enjoy doing. And those things are really to think about how we truly do integrate a global perspective in our teacher ed programs. And some of the work that we've done, and many of you have participated in this in the last year or so, developing case studies about how teacher education programs do this. We know that that different programs go about this in different ways, and they define internationalization in different ways. And I think it's really good for us to know the wide spectrum of that. So the tag will give us opportunities to talk about that. Also, sharing best practices. It's very important for us to know what works in a particular setting, and even some of our challenges and how we've overcome some of those. I think, too, we need to be encouraging more research in this area. I think there's very little research about how or what is the impact of globalization and internationalizing teacher education. And then also a tag would have the opportunity to really support recognition in national efforts, like setting up standards like we've just gone through with CAPE. I know one of the big concerns was that CAPE standards, for example, did not represent or really show a strong international component. So I think that a tag will give us an opportunity to do that. So this is such an exciting area, and I know most all of us believe in it. And we've made individual commitments from our own leadership roles to promote and encourage internationalization within teacher education. And it's my hope that if we organize a tag, it'll provide really a synergy to really make us more than make the parts more, make the whole really have an impact nationally. So not only would it help us on our own campus, but it would help the profession. And that's where what I see as the advantage of really organizing a tag, where we would take the special interest that we have and really promote what we know is important in teacher education. So I hope that gives you a little bit of why I think this work is important and why I really look forward to working with all of you.
Donna, thank you so much, and sorry about your technical issues there. I apologize about that. We had actually Jane had mentioned that NAFSA has been doing some work in this area, and Betty has actually answered that. Betty has answered the question, and as many of you know, Betty Sapelza from NAFSA is joining us now, and we greatly appreciate that she's been able to do that. She's been a huge advocate of this work in her colloquium for internationalizing teacher education. And if you go to the NAFSA website, just very recently, they've published the information from this year's colloquium in St. Louis in May, and also the information about next year's colloquium. And interestingly enough, next year's colloquium is going to be focusing on this research question. So thank you very much, Betty. I appreciate that. She's provided the link there to those resources in the chat box. So please go ahead and look at those resources. As I move on a little bit and talk about the results of the survey that I sent out, I think it's going to really mirror what Betty has been, or excuse me, what Donna and what Betty have both been just talking about. So in moving on to think about the application, it does require two things. It requires writing a statement of purpose and outlining intended projects. So if we move on to the next slide, I've outlined these next steps. So we will, as a TAG, need to submit an application. In addition to identifying the 10 members, which I think will probably reach critical mass with this group, and there are quite a few folks who unfortunately were not able to join us in this busy vacation time. And so we will need to develop a statement of purpose and pinpoint these areas that we'll want to focus on, and also identify potential activities. As many of you know, I sent out a link to a survey where we have wanted to start thinking about how these things might be developed. So as we'll continue to collect those surveys, and the officers and Jennifer and I will go ahead and draft an application, and then we will publicize that draft for feedback for folks who are interested in joining us. They can give their feedback. So just to move on to talk about the results of the survey that we sent out. On the next slide, I've listed some of the survey results. So we asked on the survey, we had provided some areas of focus and some proposed activities and asked you all to rank them. We also had asked for additional suggestions in both areas. Interestingly enough, the areas of focus, it was interesting. They got all three of these areas had almost exactly equal weight. Evidence of impact of internationalization, the benefit of internationalization to graduates, and assessing global competency in educators. And we had come up with these based on feedback from AACTE on trends we've seen with NAFSA's work and other areas, and also just in conversations with you, conference presentations and things like that. So all three of those areas received exactly equal weight. Everyone wanted to believe that all three of those areas were important. In terms of proposed activities, the results were very different. The number one by far most popular choice was to facilitate research. And I think that that's mirroring exactly what Donna has been saying and the work that Betty's been doing and what many of you have also been saying. The second area in terms of proposed activities that received the largest favorable response was to write journal articles in peer-reviewed journals, excuse me. Also, online articles was the next area, but overwhelmingly, the least popular activity was hosting webinars. Most folks rank that as their fourth choice, or the least favorable. So apparently that does not appear to be something that folks are interested in doing. Certainly we can talk about that later, and we can also think about that a little bit more, but that seemed to be the least popular choice. Some additional suggestions that we received that were very interesting were to put together conference presentations and workshops, to pursue special issues in established journals, to seek funding for research, again, policy lobbying, and also one interesting suggestion was to do an environmental scan of AACTE institutions who are doing this work in internationalization and find their funding sources. And that speaks a little bit again, to what Donna was talking about, best practices and sharing things within different institutions and with folks. So moving on, I'd like to just talk a little bit about how GTE plans to support this work. On the next slide.
Caitlin,
yes.
Caitlin, before
yes.
you move on, are you still taking survey responses?
Yes.
And how much longer do people have to respond if they haven't yet had the opportunity?
Thank you, Jennifer, so much. In the very last slide, I've proposed a timeline, and I'll go over that in detail, but I appreciate you bringing that up. So I'll talk a little bit more about how we'll continue to collect surveys. Thank you very much, Jennifer. So I'll talk a little bit more about how GTE can support this as a nonprofit. We are an online community with various interactive features. Initially, I'd like to help facilitate the application. I've devoted a discussion forum to use for feedback for the application. and I've provided the link on the last slide. In terms of further work, I'll add resources to the site to support the tag. Also, we can use a member directory to find other interested members. GTE plans to share information about this tag on the site and also in outgoing communication, just to get the word out there that this is work that we're starting to do. All right, Jennifer, speaking to your question, on the next slide, I have a proposed deadline, or proposed deadlines and a timeline for how we might move forward with this. I'm proposing that by next Friday, August 2nd, we identify any other interested members. You can send their contact information to me directly, or they can contact me directly, and there are many, many folks who already have. I'll compile a list and put that list together to provide those names and email addresses on the application. If you have not yet had a chance to respond to the survey, we'll go ahead and collect responses to that survey up until Friday, August 9th. And that will also, of course, include any new members that we've identified by next Friday. And I've provided the link to the SurveyMonkey survey there below. Using the responses that we collect from that survey from all of you who have not yet had a chance to respond, or from any others, we'll go ahead and, working with Jennifer and I and with the officers, draft the application, which will include that statement of purpose and any activities, and make them available on the GTE discussion forum by Friday, August 16th. Then we'll go ahead and give you all 2 weeks up until Friday, August 30th to look at that application and to provide feedback. And we're really looking for everyone to get involved in this collaborative process. You all know this work the best. You all should be driving the agenda and the activities, and also thinking about, with your competing priorities, how you might best be able to get involved in the kinds of activities that you would like to invest in. And I've provided the link to the discussion forum there below, and I'll be sending these out, so you don't need to worry about writing this down. And also the Center for International Education at Mason, which I believe, I imagine that's probably Bev, who is also there as well, Bev Shackley. She has mentioned that she has asked if it would be helpful to have the name of the university and a list of faculty from the AACTE institutions for the application. Yes, that will be helpful. So I'll have to follow up with you on that. That's a good point. And then we have planned, and please, if there are any other questions, please feel free to type them in. Jane has asked, she's meeting with the UNC System of Deans on August 6th, so asking if we can move the deadline to August. Absolutely, that will be just fine. That's no problem. I can go ahead and change those deadlines. That was just something I had proposed so that we could get the application into AACTE by early September, and certainly moving that deadline won't be a problem. So why don't I go ahead, if there are any other competing things out there, please let me know, and I'll revise I can revise the deadlines and as we decide to move forward. Thank you for the questions. Jennifer?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on Bev's idea about the system and the list of faculty. Would that be helpful for other institutions to do as well? Thinking about who we have on this webinar and how many of them have tons of faculty that are actively engaged in this, should that maybe be an additional homework assignment for those that want to take that extra step of including a list of faculty for the application? Caitlin?
Apologies, Jennifer. I had muted myself and I didn't realize it, so I was chatting away here. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Go ahead and could you say that again, please?
I was just wondering if it made sense for other campuses to have lists of faculty that are AACTE members that are actively engaged in internationalization, to go ahead and submit those lists as a part of the application to further show the support and the need and interest in the field, like Mason is talking about.
Yes, absolutely. I think that would be very beneficial. So the folks who are interested in getting involved, please submit. I think that we should do that. I think that would be very helpful. So hopefully, as I was saying, we can pull all of this together in early September. When I had run that by the folks at AACTE, specifically Kim, who is the person who coordinates these applications. She said the sooner the better. They're going. I feel at this point they haven't publicized the tags very much, but that's going to change very quickly. They're going to start publicizing this very widely, and she said the sooner we can get it in and start having AACTE review the application, the better. So if you have any questions or any other suggestions, please feel free to share those on the discussion board. I would say submitting the names of interested faculty, I would be willing to collect that list unless potentially maybe one of the officers would like to assume that task. I would say at this point you can submit them to me, and we can work through either through the discussion forum or other ways how we might go ahead and collect those names. I would say initially go ahead and send them to me, and then we can start to work through with the officers and I about how we can coordinate that list of names. Are there any other questions? And I'm happy, of course, to act as the point person. All right, if there are any other questions, please go ahead and feel free to type them into the chat in the next few minutes. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and move to the last slide. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to Jennifer for helping to organize and act as the background technical support. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time to join us on this meeting today. We have had another application. We've had another question about needing to include letters of support for the application. That is an excellent question. I'm going to go ahead and I would imagine that I know it's not necessary. The application is actually very simple. There's only three places where you enter a statement of purpose and proposed activities and the names of 10 people, and it's actually an online form. However, I think that it would probably also benefit our application if we were able to collect the letters. They haven't asked for them, but I know that it would certainly help. So why don't we think about that? And if you all are deans or have deans who are willing to write a letter of support, I think that that would be incredibly beneficial to facilitate the acceptance of the application of this tag. I'll also propose that on our discussion board. Also, someone has asked if the PowerPoint slides will be made available. They definitely will. I'll be sure to, and I'll also, I can type up the notes from the meeting. We had hoped to record this, but for some strange reason, the recording function just was not working today, which is ironic and I guess somehow apropos. So we'll have to, I can type up some notes and any follow-up points. I'll send the link, and I think that it will probably be best to facilitate this discussion through the discussion board just to keep our email boxes from being completely inundated by lots of different bazillions of emails with a million people CC'd. And then also folks can join that discussion board and read the discussion links when they have time, as opposed to having to read email. So thank you to Yuhan, who has said that UConn will send a letter. Becky has also suggested that short statements of support might be a way to denote the backing. And again, that could be included in the application. I think that these are all excellent questions, and I'll start putting them up on the discussion board. And I think that the discussion forum on the GTE site. And I think that these are great details that we can hash through so that we can make sure that our application is as strong as possible. And again, Joanne has asked, yes, Jennifer?
Oh, I was just going to bring up Joanne's question because I thought it was a pertinent one before we hopped off the phone. She wanted to know if you had decided on an official name for the tag.
We have not decided on an official name for the tag. That might be, I had assumed that we would call it the Internationalization of Teacher Preparation tag or Internationalization tag. The other tag that exists currently is called Sustainability. That's just Sustainability tag. So I know that the names can be fairly simple. Does anyone feel strongly that we should come up with maybe a more elaborate and detailed name? I haven't seen any folks who are, internationalization is good. Oh, globalization is better. Does anyone feel strongly? Okay, so there is a bit of debate. Excellent. We'll put it up for discussion. Why don't we go ahead and add that discussion to the discussion forum, and we can all vote, and maybe we can vote on the name as well. I think that that's an excellent conversation to start. We can collect votes, and also, please, if you haven't responded to the survey yet, you can feel free to add any of this other feedback to the survey. Jane has pointed out that her international partners do not like the term globalization. These are excellent discussions, and I think we should go ahead and put them on at this point, so we can start to gauge what people think through the discussion forum, and also be able to add the folks who haven't been able to join us today into that discussion as well, so that they can have a say. I'll go ahead and again type up some of these questions for consideration. I'll organize them on the discussion forum, and we can start to get the ball rolling. I'll do that immediately following this call, and I'll follow up with all of you with all of the links. Donna has also noted that it may depend on the statement of purpose, what we decide to name the tag, and that's actually an excellent point, Donna. Thank you very much. So we will have to be moving through, and I'm imagining, I think that Joanne had posed the question as she is thinking about approaching different folks who, as she's posing that question to different, or she's posing asking folks to support statements of purpose. I guess I don't know if we want to wait until we've come up with a name before we decide to do that. And Melanie has asked if we suggest that new interested members fill out the survey. Absolutely. We want to get as much feedback as possible. And we'll also start to see trends coming up on that survey that I'll post to the discussion as well. And I definitely, Becky, will be able to provide the discussion forum access link. I'll type up a summary, I'll provide all the links, and I'll also give the PowerPoint slides, and you're, of course, welcome to share all of this information as widely as possible.
Caitlin, yes. If I could just recommend that we use the Internationalization of Teacher Preparation Programs as a working title for folks to be able to share with their colleagues and contacts around the country, and say that it is a working title, but I think there is room for debate, and that we should look at the vision statement, absolutely, but we don't want to hold off recruiting people who might be interested, and so going with kind of the working definition that we had might make sense for now, just making sure that everybody understands it may not be the exact title that we're using for the tag in the long haul. Does that sound like a fair compromise to everybody?
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Jennifer. Okay, Donna, wonderful. So someone had recommended we say internationalization of teacher education. I'm perfectly happy with internationalization of teacher education as a working title. And if we, and then we can go again, and we can present that as our working title, and that knowing full well once we develop the statement of purpose that it might go ahead, that it might change at a later date. So as you approach people to ask if they're interested in participating or providing statements of support, then we can go ahead and use that title. All right, thank you so much for that, for getting the dialogue really going. It's unfortunate that we can't speak to each other. However, if we all were speaking at the same time, it would completely overload our internet connections and the audio and potentially GoToMeeting. Any other concerns, comments, questions? Again, speaking to the comment, will I provide all this information? Absolutely. I'll be sending a very clear follow-up with all of the different links. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your interest, for your passion, for supporting this work, for taking the time on a Friday. Please enjoy your weekend. I'll spend just a few more minutes if anyone else has any other questions, and I appreciate all the thank yous, and I'll be following up very shortly. Jennifer or Donna, would you like to add anything else?
I'll just add my thanks. This is a great start, and I'm super enthusiastic about what the future may bring. So thanks to everybody for joining us, and we'll look forward to connecting virtually and back in the fall when we have more connectivity. Hopefully we can arrange for us to chat versus just having the chat function. But thanks for being so flexible and forthright with your comments. It's very helpful, and we will look to improve the platform for the future. So thanks, everybody. Donna, did you want to say anything?
Donna, I unmuted you if you'd like to say a last word. All right, so I think Donna is not with did not have any final words, so we'll go ahead and close it up. It doesn't appear that anyone else has any other questions. So thank you again. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll be following up immediately. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.